This little rectangle is basically a Swiss Army knife. It can help you study, work, learn a language, and find your way home. But it can also help you procrastinate, gossip, gamble, cheat, lust, and buy you things you don't even need. It's like an endless buffet of temptation. Well, except it's not actually free. It comes with an expensive cost. Your attention. At first glance, it doesn't seem that costly because we usually measure value by money. So in your mind, you're thinking, well, my attention doesn't cost me anything. It's free. So what's the big deal? But that's the issue. You perceive attention in terms of currency, while God sees it as something far more valuable. And guess what? The enemy sees exactly what God sees and fights for it. But we're so distracted by algorithms that we don't even realize there's a spiritual battle happening right in front of us. So the question is, what is the true value of our attention? What do God and the enemy see that we don't see? And what makes it so valuable that they're constantly at war over it? The answer is a lot deeper than you think, because it doesn't just affect what you do, it affects who you become. So in this video, I'll be covering these questions I never used to think about while using my phone, and how it's directly connected to our hearts, desires, and the one thing we all struggle with. Before we talk about phones, we need to talk about something much deeper. The human heart. Because the biggest problem with our phones isn't actually our phones. A phone is just a tool. It doesn't have desires, intentions, or the ability to sin. But the person using it does. Because remember when you first bought your brand new phone, it comes as a blank slate, only filled with the essential apps like messages, email, and camera. And what most people overlook is that you, as the user, have an ungodly amount of power at your fingertips, because the apps you choose to install can either empower you or consume you. So then, what does the human heart got to do with any of this? Think of your heart as a holding cell for your desires and temptations. And it's important to note that everyone has different levels of vulnerability to each of them. For example, one person may struggle with pride and another with envy. So no two people are tempted in the exact same way. So someone who craves pride may not realize it until they start obsessing over likes and followers. And someone prone to envy may not notice it until they're constantly comparing themselves on social media. So our phones often amplify the desires and temptations we're most vulnerable to. And people don't always know what they struggle with most until they're put in an environment that exposes it. And that's what makes smartphones unique. They're personalized based on your vulnerabilities. In a sense, they're basically a mirror reflecting your heart, projecting your hidden desires onto your screen. And Jesus reinforces this in Mark 7. He says, "For from within, out of the heart of man, come evil thoughts, sexual immorality, theft, murder, adultery, coveting, wickedness, deceit, sensuality, envy, slander, pride, foolishness. All these evil things come from within, and they defile a person." So Jesus says our sinful desires come from within. In other words, our phones don't manufacture sin. They simply give our hearts more opportunities to express what's already there. And this is why guarding your heart matters so much, because your heart isn't static, it's dynamic and is constantly being shaped. Think of it this way, our phones are like a gym. Each app specializes in strengthening the desires you crave. Instagram trains comparison, TikTok trains distraction, Corn trains lust, and shopping apps train greed. Now obviously, these apps aren't the same for everyone. The issue is that every app is training something. So with every touch, swipe, and search, you're unintentionally shaping your heart. Or in Jimbo terms, your desires are getting shredded just by using the apps. Except it's not the healthy kind of shred. It's basically weight training for desires through our phone habits. And every habit follows this pattern. It starts from a desire, then to action, and action becomes a habit, then eventually affects your identity. So for a person who seeks approval, their pattern would look like this. Desire, I want people to notice me. Action, I post something and keep checking for likes and comments. Habit, I automatically look for validation whenever I feel uncertain, and identity. My value depends on what other people think of me. And for someone who seeks comfort, desire, I don't want to feel bored, lonely, or stressed. Action. I open TikTok, Instagram, or YouTube. Habit. I escape uncomfortable emotions instead of facing them. And identity. I become someone who depends on constant distraction. So whether it's approval, comfort, or comparison, the pattern is always the same. The more you feed a desire, the stronger it becomes. But here's the question that gets to the heart of our struggles. What is the one thing that feeds our desires in the first place? The answer is surprisingly simple and circles back to where we started, our attention. Because attention is not just where we look, it's what we give ourselves to. And whatever consistently receives our attention will eventually shape our hearts. Because what you repeatedly look at, listen to, engage with will slowly form you. And this is exactly why the enemy fights for your attention. Your attention is the gateway to your heart. That's why both God and the enemy desperately seek it. Because whoever has your attention has the greatest influence over who you become. So if the enemy can capture your attention, he can influence your desires. If he can influence your desires, he can shape your habits. And if he can shape your habits, he can ultimately shape your identity. But the good news is this. God is also after your attention, not to control you, but to transform you. So the question isn't just, what am I looking at? The real question is, what is shaping me? And this is where things get a little uncomfortable, because it's not just about where your attention is going, it's about what you're running to. Whatever consistently receives our attention often reveals what we believe can satisfy us. When we're lonely, stressed, or insecure, where do we run first? Do we run to God, or do we run to our phones? And I'll be the first to admit it. When I'm stressed, I don't instinctively pray. I instinctively unlock my phone. And that says a lot about what my heart believes will actually help me. Because sometimes, our phones don't just distract us from God, they replace Him. Instead of God, I need likes to feel valued. I need scrolling to escape. And I need people's opinions to feel seen. So the problem isn't that we have phones. The problem is when our phones become the place we run to for the things only God can truly provide. That's why this battle isn't about technology, it's about worship. Every time we instinctively reach for our phones, we're revealing something about where we look for comfort, peace, or approval. So before you pick up your phone again, ask yourself this. If someone saw your screen time, would they see what you say you value or what your heart actually runs toward? Because the important question isn't what am I doing on my phone, it's what is my phone doing to me?